ESPN has certainly had its fair share of controversies over the last several years, and they've been under fire for a variety of things, including the programming itself, the woke nonsense that they continue to promote, and of course, letting so many political things get involved in their sports commentary. But more recently, just a few weeks ago, in the immediate aftermath of the terror attack in New Orleans, when the Sugar Bowl got delayed because of all the craziness that was going on, so they could make sure that everything would be safe, ESPN made a huge, grave mistake. At least they called it a mistake. And that's when they did not air the moment of silence for the victims or the national anthem in the immediate aftermath. ESPN slammed after skipping moment of silence for terror attack victims during the Sugar Bowl. ESPN's been taking heat on social media for skipping a moment of silence during the Sugar Bowl broadcast, which was held in honor of the victims of the terror attack in New Orleans this week. And for people that did see clips of it and things like that on social media, it was obviously a remarkable moment. It's hard to believe that we're only just a little over 2 weeks removed from that. That was on New Year's when that happened. Just absolutely disgusting what went down. But obviously with the Sugar Bowl being there the next day and it getting moved, there was so much attention towards what was happening at this game. Between the national anthem, between the moment of silence, all this stuff. It was very powerful. And ESPN did not air it. Really, ESPN? You won't show national anthem and moment of silence for the victims of the New Orleans jihadist terror attack? There's no excuse for that. Calling out Disney. Classic ESPN not showing the national anthem or moment of silence before the Sugar Bowl. I guess ESPN's too good or woke to show the Star-Spangled Banner being sung or the moment of silence for the victims. And of course, Outkick's Clay Travis, one of the major players in calling this bullshit out. Well, now we have an ESPN vice president admitting that this was a colossal fuck up, that it was a huge mistake, and that ESPN needs to be held accountable for what they did. ESPN vice president admits not airing national anthem at Sugar Bowl following NOLA terrorist attack was an enormous mistake. And here we have it right here. ESPN VP Burke Magnus says not airing the moment of silence was a terrible mistake and a horrible error and says we should be held to account for it. Let's listen to this segment. Obviously radio, so that's why it's audio only.
I know there's a little bit of controversy regarding you guys not covering the anthem in New Orleans for the game. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Let me just say this. There's a group of people in Bristol who just made an enormous mistake. It was a human error. It happens. I don't want to minimize it by any stretch. But as you noted, like nothing was normal about that next day, including our programming lineup, where we normally would have had College Game Day and that crew leading into the game. It wasn't that. It was Sports Center, which is done out of Bristol instead of inside. I could give you a whole host of reasons why it was not the normal circumstance.
And that does seem like a little bit of a cop-out, right? To just, hey, the people that were controlling the program, they fucked it up. They shouldn't have done that. Now, whether that was intentional, whether they did just really make a fucking honest mistake, or whether there was something else to that, people are going to have questions about that when this is the same ESPN that's been pushing and spinning this bullshit for so fucking long. And yes, it obviously did get delayed. We didn't even know till that day that it was going to get delayed. It was a very crazy situation in the lead up to this game. I will give them that.
But at the end of the day, that was just a horrible error that was made by a group of really well-intentioned people who feel terrible about it. I lost my father over the holiday break, and he was an Army veteran, and there was nothing more important to him than his military service. My parents took my sisters and I to West Point every single week. We had season tickets to Army football growing up. The notion that was somehow intentional or we were trying to avoid acknowledging what was a horrific situation in New Orleans was really misplaced. It was just a mistake that we feel terrible about. And by the way, we should be held to account for, right? Like we want to be as good as we can possibly be at all times. And even though it was not a normal situation, our traffic got fouled up, our timing got fouled up. We happened to be in commercial break when the anthem happened. It was just not good by any measuring stick and not up to our standards. I think what you have seen since then in terms of the other CFP games are NFL games in Week 18 in the wild card. Like we're not avoiding the anthem, quite the opposite. It's a special moment for all sports fans at big events. And, you'll see the same treatment in the college football championship game.
Now, you could take that however you want to take it. I certainly think that the backlash they received for skipping the anthem during this game may have led to the focus they now have on the national anthem, right? And I would have said that anyway, even if he didn't say this, because since this has happened over the past couple weeks at all these major things, whether it's NFL playoffs, last season of the NFL, the college football games, there has been a big focus on making sure they air the national anthem. But you can't get upset if people assume that this was intentional or anything like that, because we saw during all the kneeling bullshit, the Black Lives Matter bullshit that was going through sports, we saw some that decided to shy away from that and just not air the anthem to get away from that controversy rather than air the fact that some of these players were kneeling. We saw some people lean into it for some period of time. There has been a lot of focus on the national anthem, who participates, what happens during it over the last several years. Very unfortunately so that we had to go through all that bullshit, that you had entitled losers kneeling during the national anthem. I personally find it a little hard to believe that it was just an innocent mistake. Now, maybe there's some programmers or some people. I don't know how the entire production works there at ESPN and what they're doing, who makes this decision, who makes that decision. Is it hard for me to believe that this entire crew missed what an incredible moment this would be and instead showed that ridiculous All-State CO ad, whatever the fuck that was? It is a little hard for me to believe that was just an innocent mistake. But there you have it from, an ESPN vice president himself admitting and trying to explain the reasons why this may have happened, but admitting that they royally fucked up and they're trying to do everything to save face in the aftermath. What do you guys think? Do you believe him that it was, not really intentional and just kind of a product of the weird timing and the weird schedule and everything that happened? Or do you think it was a little more nefarious? And what do you think about admitting that they royally fucked up and should be held to account for that? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.